Well, good morning. Thank you for joining us here this morning. I'm joined here with some of the champions that have been fighting with us on this issue to resolve and have a permanent solution for our dreamers. We've been working for quite some time, both sides of the aisle, talking to every member to find out exactly where they're at on this whole immigration debate. But the biggest issue that we're facing today is actually having the debate in front of the American public. We talk a lot about transparency around here and regular order. Well, that's exactly what we're doing here today. We want to follow regular order and have a debate on the House floor in front of the American public and debate each of the various bills. Some bills that we agree with, some bills that we don't. But each of them deserves a debate in front of the American public. So what we've done is introduced a rule that will allow us to have a vote. But more than that, it allows us to show the president and the speaker the will of the people, the will of the people's house, and to really get members of both sides of the aisle to sign on to this rule and show that we want to have that full debate. And the calendar is moving forward. The clock is still ticking. Every day that passes is one day less that we get an opportunity to debate and have the American people involved. And so we have worked together. We have over 50 Republican co-authors. And my colleague Pete Aguilar is also going to announce how many we have on the Democratic side of the aisle as well. Pete, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks, sir. Thank you all for being here today, and thank you to Congressman Denham for being a champion on behalf of the hundreds of thousands of young dreamers who know of no other country but the United States as their home. We're here today to announce something we've known for a long time, that there is broad and bipartisan support for a solution to address protecting dreamers. We're here to say that as representatives of the people, we want to have that debate on their behalf. As Representative Denham just mentioned, more than 50 Republicans signing on board and joining 190 Democrats who have come together to say we're tired of waiting. We're tired of broken promises from leaders in this country who insist that they want to find a solution for young people, only to let month after month go by without action. The Denham rule would force debate on 4 potential solutions and require an up or down vote for each of those proposals. We've known all along that this would require a bipartisan solution. We've known all along that there is strong desire on both sides of the aisle to secure the future for dreamers like Letty, who's here with us from my district in San Bernardino, or Jessica, who's been interning in my office from UC Merced and graduates next month. Dreamers who grew up here and went to school here. Dreamers who have overcome countless obstacles to build their lives here, who want nothing more than to give back to our community, to their community. They deserve to know that they're not just chess pieces or to see politics play out, but they are the future of this country. They deserve a vote, and I believe that's the least that we can do. I'd like to introduce someone who has also been incredibly helpful and instrumental in our efforts, Representative Will Hurd from Texas.
Thank you, Pete. And I want to start off by thanking my friend, Congressman Denham, for his tenacity and this idea. So for those of y'all that may be watching, that read about this later, if you care about having a vote on the House floor and to have a debate about this important issue in front of the people, then use the hashtag Queen of the Hill. This is basically what Congressman Denham's rule does. Brings 4 bills to the floor. Whichever gets the most votes goes on to the Senate. And this is a parliamentary procedure called Queen of the Hill. And I think this is a way that everybody who has an opinion on this issue can bring this to the House floor and we can see a vote on this. All we're asking is for a vote. This building, this place, Congress has been debating this issue for more than a decade. We still haven't secured our border. I know that I have more border than any other member of Congress. We still haven't given a permanent solution to over 1 million Americans who have only known America as their home. Now is the time to solve this problem. And in such a divisive environment, you can see by the folks standing behind me that there is a bipartisan solution to this problem. All we need to do is see it come to the floor. And I'm glad to support Congressman Denham's bill. I'm glad to support my friend Pete Aguilar. And now it's an honor to introduce my friend Michelle Lujan Grisham from the great state of New Mexico.
Thank you. So I think we've got the drill down. I'm Michelle Lujan Grisham. I'm the chair of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus. This is the best of the effort of Congress, where we're all working together across the aisle to address the issues that not only our constituents from just our districts, but Americans across this nation ask us to address. And what we want is Americans to weigh in to help us move the leadership in the House to allow us to bring to debate and to vote, as you've heard, a permanent solution for Dreamers. From the very beginning of Congress, the Congressional Hispanic Caucus has been incredibly clear and focused. Now, we're committed to protecting Dreamers, and we'll use every opportunity to pass a legislative solution that gives them a path to citizenship, and in keeping with our deepest held belief in family. I'm particularly proud if you now combine everyone who is on this rule that would allow us to have a vote and debate on 4 different solutions to addressing Dreamers and border security issues. We have 237 members of the House. 237. Plenty. So why we don't have the opportunity to have a vote doesn't make any sense, that we're not moving forward a legislative solution for Dreamers. But we need, as I said before, we need Speaker Ryan and the leaders of Republican Congress to listen to this request and allow us and allow the American people to see this effort through. So I want to give you a couple of quotes. Words like these have been stated over the last year, particularly by Speaker Ryan. Well, I think we have to come up with a solution for the DACA kids, and that's something we in Congress are working on. That's what Speaker Ryan said to a DACA recipient and to her U.S. citizen daughter in January of 2017 at a CNN town hall meeting. In September of 2017, after Trump terminated DACA, Speaker Ryan said, and I quote, "encouraged by the fact that the president gave Congress the time to work out a consensus, to find a compromise on the issues of Dreamers, and that people should rest easy because the president made the right call." Now, I disagree with that call. I think it was a very reckless decision. But in any event, that the president, again, gave us the time and space that we need to find where that compromise is. Now, in that time, Congress has tried to make progress, but we have been thwarted by Republican leadership, and that deferred leadership to a president who at times has appeared to be on the side of Dreamers and at other times has used them as political pawns and negotiating chips. Now, we can't wait for the president to tell us exactly what he wants to see in agreement, because I don't think any of us have any idea, except that he was clear that he wants a permanent legislative fix for Dreamers. So this gets us to that effort. So let's give him a bill. Let's vote on these 4 Dreamer bills here in the House. Let the one with the most votes pass. Let's show ourselves in this country that this promise is still true, to protect Dreamers and their families. Let's show them that the hard work that we've all been engaged in is in fact going to pay off. I believe that there's enough will and courage right behind me. Certainly, if you go by height, I've got everything that we need right behind me. I believe that we've got 237 members of Congress, bipartisan, working every single day to get this over the finish line. So let's make sure that we don't lose this momentum today. And let's give these young Dreamers who have worked so hard to contribute to the only country most of them have ever known. Thank you. And now it is my great honor. Wait, actually, I'm not. Duke Kaufman? All right. They're just bossing me around, which is, I'm happy with that. So it is my great honor to introduce next to the podium my colleague and very good friend, Representative Kaufman.
Mike Kaufman in the 6th District of Colorado, with a large Hispanic community in this congressional district, and I often meet with Dreamers. who have come here, who were taken here illegally as children, grew up here, went to school here in the United States, and oftentimes know of no other country. The President gave the Congress of the United States 6 months to find a solution. March 5th was that deadline, and yet no bill has been debated in committee or on the House floor. And so no votes taken. And so this is a mechanism whereby we can have a vote not just on one bill, but on 4 bills. And I think it's so important that we find a permanent solution for these young people. And I really applaud the leaders here on a bipartisan basis for putting this idea forward.
Next, we'll have Representative David Valadeo from California.
Well, thank you all for being here. This is obviously a very important topic. I've been in Congress now for a few years, and I've taken a lot of really tough votes. I've never backed away from them, and I think this Congress should not ever back away from them. Our job is to pass laws, to pass bills, and obviously we have to have those debates and have those votes to do that. Today, we're showing that there is a lot of support out there to pass this legislation, and for that matter, I mean, we should at least have the debate and have the vote so that we see what the Senate can do with it. We've got 4 pieces of legislation connected to this. One of these bills is going to have the support, if not at least 2 or 3 of them. The American people and the folks that this affects the most deserve this, and I think us as members of Congress have a responsibility to do that. So I welcome this opportunity, and I'm glad to be here. So thanks again.
Thanks, David. And as all of the members behind me know, this is very personal for all of us. This is very personal because we all know constituents in our community who would be helped by these pieces of legislation. With us to give some remarks is a young woman from my district, Leticia Herrera, who is an amazing young woman from San Bernardino who wanted to share some of her thoughts. Thanks, Leti.
Hello, my name is Leticia Herrera. I am a DACA recipient. I am here today to share my experience as an undocumented American in this country. I came to the United States when I was 8 years old, and learning English was a struggle. My parents worked really hard in agricultural fields in California, harvesting crops in 120-degree temperatures. I grew up with the fear of not seeing my parents again once I came back from school. Once I was in high school, I decided to go to college, not knowing how my immigration status was going to affect me. Thankfully, through the Dream.us, I was able to earn a scholarship, and now I am a junior at California State University, San Bernardino, studying sociology, and one day I will become a social worker. Undocumented people like me work really hard to reach our dreams, just like my older sister did. She was a DACA recipient too. Unfortunately, she passed away 4 months ago, suddenly because she had a brain bleed. She left behind a 5-year-old, a U.S. citizen. My sister was a mother, activist, student, sister, and a dreamer. Just like my parents, she was an incredibly hard worker. She was 22 years old, had a part-time job while going to community college. She wanted to be a preschool teacher. She was a leader in her campus with organizations as well as in her daughter's school. My sister's last days were full of happiness, but also stressful. She was worried about her future, the future of her own family, because she did not fall into the window for DACA renewals given by the Trump administration when they ended the program. She wanted the best for her daughter, but could not plan her life completely because of her immigration status. We were always in fear. I still remember those nights where we cried and talked about our future and what should we do in case someone in our family got deported. My life changed completely after the termination of DACA and after my sister's passing, because now I have to live constantly in fear, not knowing what the future holds. I am now the older sibling, and I have to look out for my family and my niece. Dreamers cannot wait much longer for a solution, especially seeing how families are being separated every single day. I want to thank the members of Congress here today for their continuous support on trying to compromise and to find a bipartisan solution that will protect dreamers like me. I urge our representatives to support us and finally take a vote on this critical legislation. Our lives and futures are at risk. Thank you.
Well, before we open up for questions, let me just say, you hear a lot about the partisan divide across our country, that it's difficult to get anything passed here in Congress and signed into law. We have 237 Republicans and Democrats coming together on this issue, and more are signing up every single day. The American public is demanding a vote, and we're demanding it too. Working together, Republicans and Democrats, where we may have some differences on the different positions on the different bills, we're all coming together and saying it is time to have a full debate in front of the American public and let the entire country decide. Let the entire country decide what border security should look like, what a permanent fix for Dreamers should look like. We're standing side by side here today because we are demanding a fix as well. So with that, let me open it up for questions that you might have for us this morning. There's a lot of things you can ignore here in Congress, but the will of the House is something that becomes very difficult. The intent was to introduce a rule and show how many Republicans and Democrats would sign on. I think we're at a good start with 237. We have more than the 218 or 216 that we currently need for a vote on this. We expect to have well above that in the coming days, and both parties are going to continue to work to push our colleagues and let them know how important it is for us to have a debate and a full vote. And there are members that, again, are co-authors on different bills, on different aspects of this whole debate, but they want votes as well. And so we're going to continue to show the Speaker and to show the President. We want to show the President that the will of the House, the will of the people is right here on demanding a vote, and we're going to continue to get more co-authors on the bill to do that.
Speaker
Alan?
Ryan, will any of you file a discharge petition if Ryan ignored this rule?
I am sure that it will be something that is discussed in the coming weeks. We would hope that our show here today with 237, and I think we're going to have a growing number over the coming days and coming weeks, that you should not need a discharge petition. You shouldn't need, when you can show the overwhelming majority of the House the support of this, you shouldn't need a discharge petition. But it is something that we would talk about in the future, depending on how long this goes. Look, the President gave us a 6-month deadline. This was all supposed to be handled by March 5th. We're in April and quickly closing in on May. There's only so much time in the calendar. And not only are we demanding a vote, but the people of this country are demanding a vote.
Congress, what's leadership telling you? What is Ryan or McCarthy, Scalise, what have they said about this whole idea of yours?
Look, it's our job to be leaders. And that's what we've done. We've come together, Republicans and Democrats, to be leaders. We've seen several times in the House now under Speaker Boehner. You had Stephen Fincher introduce a discharge petition on XM Bank, which had a huge number of Republicans that signed on to that, and ultimately brought that issue up to a vote. You also had the Queen of the Hill done without a discharge petition because we showed that we should have a vote on each of the different budgets in the House. And so both a rule and a discharge have been both something that have been able to get not only Republican support, but both parties to come together. I think it is far too early to talk about next steps. I think the biggest step that we can take right now is not only showing 237 today, the overwhelming majority of the House, but expanding that even further to show that we will demand a vote on this.
Speaker Ryan preemptively said last week that he didn't like this rule because it could ultimately yield something that the president would veto. He has a selection open to himself.
Yeah, I really didn't understand that comment or that concern. The Speaker has one of the 4 bills. He can put whatever he wants in the bill. I'm sure with the Speaker's wisdom, he will find whatever the President wants and would be able to sign. And the President also has the Goodlatte bill, which he supports, has the 4 pillars that he could put into the Ryan bill. And ultimately, we would hope that as each of these different bills takes amendments, that not only does it get a cross-section of the House showing the will of the American people, but garners the president's support too. I think today this announcement will not only catch the president's attention, he continues to tweet on this topic. I think he will see that there is a renewed effort between both parties to come together on this.
At that same press conference, the speaker also said there's an offer still on the table that the Democrats didn't want to take, presumably referring to the extension of DACA till 2020 in exchange for $20 billion in border wall. The Democrats have already said they don't like that, but do the 50 Republicans that are signing on? That's the question.
I can tell you in my conversations with Republicans and Democrats, but certainly I've whipped every Republican in the House several times now. We want to find a permanent fix, and continuing to kick the can does not make any sense. It doesn't provide certainty for our dreamers, and ultimately we've got a job to do to fix this situation. So they come up in order. The first bill would be the Goodlatte bill, the bill that came out of the Judiciary Committee. He still has opportunities to change that between now and the time that it comes up. Then it would be the DREAM Act. Then the Speaker's 4 pillars, or the Speaker's bill, and then ultimately the fourth and final bill would be the USA Act. Again, each of the different authors has the ability to amend these bills up until the time that they're brought up. Look, we've been waiting for well over a year, if not several years, to bring this issue up. We've had ample opportunities. We've missed the deadline that the president put before us. So our goal with this is to show the will of the House and to have a full debate in front of the American public. And I think, as you can see demonstrated here today, we have an overwhelming majority that's continuing to grow. So. I think both. You introduce a rule or you introduce a bill because you plan on getting a vote on it. But certainly, you can pull anything back or not need a vote if we schedule a vote any time. And the Speaker has the ability to schedule a bill at any time on the floor, and certainly has the ability to schedule all 4 of these. The President has the ability to get engaged on this as well, and we're providing both of them the opportunity. We just introduced 190 co-authors today, so
we're all still hopeful that leadership recognizes that the will of the House wants to see this vote, but we're going to reserve the right to use all the tools in our toolkit in order to get that done, and we'll address all of our options at the appropriate time. But this is the first step in showing the fact that there are a bipartisan group of folks that want to see the 4 pieces of legislation come up to the floor to get a vote on. So let's continue to push that, and then if we have to resort to other issues, then we'll evaluate that as well.
And I want to do one more thing. I mean, this is the vehicle, and I really appreciate our Republican colleagues. Yeah, I'm right at the microphone, so we're good. This is the first time that you can see all 237 members, right, signed on into a single vehicle. That changes the dynamic when you've got some on one bill, some on another, here's everyone together wanting to move this forward. That in and of itself is a complete shift in identifying just how this critical mass is growing. And I really appreciate my colleague, Congressman Hurd, that we are standing together strong. We're going to use, and we've been saying this, most of us all along, we know there are other tools, and if we need to evaluate those, we will. But this is the first vehicle that shows just the strength and the commitment of the House itself. 237 members. God, since I've been here, there's no bipartisan pieces of legislation with 237 members that you have any idea about until the vote's actually taken. This is a powerful effort, and we hope it's a reflection of what the country's been asking us to do.
Do you have a deadline? When do you want this to happen?
we've not set any arbitrary deadlines in front of us. I will tell you that we are united in continuing to work the House to continue to build this number. 237 is a great start, but I'm getting texts from members this morning. We're still talking to members on the floor. We'll continue to push as we'd expect Dreamers in districts and community members that want border security to have discussions with their members to bring a bill to the floor. And so we're going to expect over the coming days not only to work hard, but to continue to convince colleagues that signing on to a rule is something that can not only show the will of the House, but can really push the Speaker and the President to engage on the issue and bring it up for a vote.
Does this mean that regardless the number of legislators that are in the vote, the decision still lies on Speaker Ryan?
We are making sure that we show the will of the House and the will of the people of the country. We're going to continue to get more and more co-authors and discuss.
The decision still lies on the Paul Ryan's decision to bring this to the vote?
It is Paul Ryan's decision today to bring it to the floor. Yes.
On the numbers of Dreamers, you go from DACA, which is about 690,000, to the DREAM Act, which includes about 4 million. So which numbers are you determined to make permanent as far as people, the kids who are here illegally? Is it the DACAs or is it the Dreamers? You keep going back and forth, so it gets confusing.
As Representative Denham laid out, what the Queen of the Hill strategy does is it brings 4 slots for potential votes, and each of those slots affects immigration policy. The first bill would be the Goodlatte bill, which I'm personally not supportive, and the second bill would be a slot for Representative Lucille. Correct. Well, it would give an extension. It's not a permanent solution. It would give an extension to the existing program, as well as cut legal immigration and a variety of other things. The second bill would be Representative Lucille Roybal Allard would control that slot. She is free to introduce a bill under our process, likely the DREAM Act. The third piece would, that's, well, 1.6. It depends on whose analysis you use. The Migration Policy Institute would say it's 1.8-ish. So I mean,
under 16 or under 18.
So it depends on the year, and each bill specifically would call for the age at which individuals are allowed and who it would apply to. So we may not know that until these bills would be placed before us. The Speaker, as Rep. Denham mentioned, would have the third slot. He's free to introduce whatever bill he feels meets his threshold, maybe with the President's support or without. And then the fourth bill would be, the slot would be allocated to Representative Will Hurd. And you could talk to him about what he would propose, but clearly we have been working on the USA Act, which does address border security, as Raphael mentioned. But I want to be very clear. We want a permanent solution to this issue. The representatives behind me today want a permanent solution. We don't want to punt this for 2 years or 3 years, and we're not going to trade insane amounts of border security funding just to be back in this same position in 18 or 24 or 36 months. That is not a solution. We're committed to a solution, and we're committed to working together in order to get there. Last question.
We are talking about the first step of this to show the support of the House, and that's all we're talking to members about right now, is showing how many members we can get on this bill. And we have broad support. I mean, there are members on here that support Goodlatte's bill that extends President Obama's DACA for 3 years. And there are others that want a DREAM bill that has 1.8 million. And so we have a very broad coalition between Republicans and Democrats dealing from the extension of DACA to a DREAM Act that is much more inclusive. The point of this is, it is time for a full debate. Let every member answer for where they stand on immigration in front of their districts and in front of the American people on what we're fighting for. And so we want all 4 bills to come up. We want each of the authors of these bills to have the ability to change them and get the support that they need to get them to pass, and to work with the President on something that he'll actually sign. But our goal here today is to force a vote on the bill and to show how much support we have in our conference.
So then, Congressman, are you committing to file a discharge position if Speaker Ryan does not bring this to the floor? You say your goal is to force a vote, so are you pledging to bring a discharge petition?
We have 237 people that have signed on to a bill, and as Michelle said, you find me another bill that has 237 people that have signed on to it already. And I guarantee that in the coming days there will be many more that are added to this. You should not need to force a vote or have a discharge petition or have a protest out on the front yard with you've got 250 plus people that are continuing to sign onto this. So this growing number we think will not only show the Speaker but will show the President that this is what the People's House wants to do.
Thank you. We got to get a couple of these members back to the Farm Bill ag stuff. So thank you very much. Appreciate it. Some of us will stick around.